Yo, yo, there we go. Look at that, Mr. Producer. I got all them hoes. I did a little Mr. Producer on them. Now you should be able to hear me, right? The viewers are. Oh, look at this. Now we're cooking. Gentlemen, all right, now we're back. I was just basically talking shit for the past 5 minutes, but I'll talk shit again. That's okay. What I was saying is, after a little Mr. Producer, I'm doing another double shot espresso. And I was saying, oh, these people who jump up out of bed in the morning like zombies. Oh, I got to go to work today. Oh, my life. Oh, it's so sad, so slow. I have no action, no testosterone in my veins. It's because you're drinking a cold brew like a fruit cake in the morning. Oh, babe, I'm going to have a iced latte. Iced. Bruv, iced and... First of all, let's start with the iced. Iced? You have to drink your coffee cold? What? Hot. Hot is too... It hurts your mouth. It hurts your tongue. It hurts the roof of your mouth. Is it too hot for you to have an iced coffee? What? No. My grandfather, my nono, when he would drink espressos, he wanted that shit on fucking fire. Inferno. He wanted to see flames coming up off the espresso. Hot. He used to take water, he would put it in the espresso cup, and he would have, well, he wouldn't do it, my grandmother would do it, and she would microwave the espresso cup with water in it so it would boil. So then there'd be boiling water in the espresso cup, and then as soon as she was ready to brew the espresso, she'd dump out the water, brew the espresso right into the fucking flaming hot cup, so when he sipped it, it was still hot. But we got men nowadays, iced latte. Oh, bumbleclot. You wonder why you have no testosterone. So, anyways, you want to light your blood on fire in the morning? You want to get to work? You want to win the week? You want to make money? Quad shot espresso in the morning. And then you get a little double just to top things off in the middle of the day. Like right now for me, just a little double to pick up the pace a bit. All right, gentlemen, let's get right into it. Maximum fear, maximum pain in the markets. People are freaking out. It's multi-year bear market. Everybody's crying. Hey, good. We like sentiment bad. We like people selling. We like sellers getting exhausted. They seem like they're David Goggins right now, but they can't go forever, right? So as I was looking in the charts this weekend and reaccumulating some of my positions, which I've talked about in the Taylor's code in our Discord, I'm talking about the positions we're reaccumulating right now at the lows. And I'm basically just trying to get a roadmap for what the timeline is going to look like as we bounce out of this mini bear market. So there's two different camps you could be in right now. One is we're in a multi-year bear market, which is the title of the stream. Are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana entering a multi-year bear market? That would only happen in the case that we see a recession. That would only happen in the case that we see something like we saw in 2022, where we had the fastest Fed tightening cycle right after COVID in that 2021 bull run. Because what happened in COVID, they increased the global monetary supply by 40%. So you get this massive bubble, this massive pump in 2021. Inflation's going fucking insane. People can't afford anything. So what does the Fed have to do? They have to do the fastest interest rate hiking and Fed tightening cycle that's ever taken place. So what happens? Well, in 2022, you get a fucking bear market. Okay, get a multi-year bear market. Now, where are we at in 2025? Where are we at in the context of the cycle? Do we believe we're going into a multi-year bear market? We just got to get out now and short this shit to the ground? Or is it going to be a quicker turnaround within a few months? Equities start ripping to new all-time highs again. Bitcoin goes to new all-time highs again. Altcoins go to new all-time highs again. What do we think is going to happen? That's the money-making question. That's the question that everybody's trying to answer, but nobody seems to know. Right? So let's take a look at, let's talk about a little bit of macro and then we'll jump into the charts. So what would cause a recession, right? What would cause a recession is the inability for people to do business, the economy basically getting depressed in a sense. That's why they call it depression. Getting depressed in the sense that there's less transacting, there's less innovation, there's less spending, less borrowing, which would happen in what case? If the Fed is hiking rates, if the markets are moving down, of course, and people are losing money. Well, why would I argue against the recession? Well, right now we're in a situation where the Fed is actually going to increase liquidity, going to put more money into the markets, do all the things opposite of what creates a recession. What creates a recession is interest rates getting hiked. So people borrow less, people spend less, economy goes down, right? We're in the opposite situation. Right now, the odds for the Fed and Jerome Powell to cut interest rates are going up. So they're going to make it easier to borrow money. They're going to make it easier to transact. They cut their quantitative tightening, which this was a little tidbit from the last FOMC meeting that people missed or people weren't really talking about. They cut their quantitative tightening in 50%. So there's billions and billions of dollars that they were pulling out of the market every single month and creating this downward sell pressure while markets were ripping. That's cut in half. And then later this year, I'm sure they'll get that down to zero, right? So we're entering in a market where the conditions are going to be bullish. Now it's just about positioning ahead of time so that you can benefit from that move. You don't want to be the guy who right now at the lows capitulates at the literal fucking lows. No, when sentiment's awful, when fear is all the way at all-time highs, when everybody's freaking out, nobody knows if it's a bear market or recession, these are the moments where you say, okay, we're at the low. I'm going to accumulate the correct assets for the way back on the way back up. Not the guy that says, oh my gosh, Ethereum's at $1,700, $1,800 right now. I got to get out of my positions. I got to sell and get completely out of the market at a huge loss. That's not, no, guy, please, no, that's not how it works. You don't already sell at the bottom. If you were going to sell and take profits, you should have sold and took profits between 3 and 4K ETH, not at 17, 1800 ETH. So this is the emotion in people talking that gets them all psyched out of the market is they'll hold all the way to the top. They won't take profits emotionally, ride it all the way back down to the bottom. Now their portfolios don't look so hot. Now they're freaking out. Now they're depressed. Now they're anxious. I got to get out of the market. And then they sell at the fucking Pico low. You don't do that. Gentlemen, you don't do that. Okay? Maximum fear, maximum bearish sentiment. The investor index showing bearish or bullish between investors as it's at its all-time bearish sentiment since the 2022 lows. Well, if it's all-time bearish since the 2022 lows, well, what happened in the 2022 lows? That was the bottom of the bear market. So what do we think we're getting right now in the market? We're not in the actual bear market, but if the sentiment's that bad and we're that bearish, guess what? We're due for a bottoming process. We're due for some sideways reaccumulation, which means the big dogs are going to recollect their bags, reload up their bags for that next move up. So I don't see a recession. I don't see a reason at all for this to be a multi-year bear market. Could it be? Maybe. Do I believe so? Nope. But this is why I'm going to make a shit ton of money, and I have been, because I understand where we're heading, and I'm not going to sell at the lows. You buy at the lows. That's how you make money. Okay, so where are we at right now? Let's take a look at the charts. And we'll do a little Mr. Producer. Naeem. Oh, yeah, by the way, Naeem and the Bangladeshis and all my Muslim brothers and sisters. I know it's, what's it called? How do you say it, Naeem? Eid? Hold on, I'll pull it up. I want to wish you guys an Eid Mubarak. Did I say that right, Naeem? Eid Mubarak. So, for those of you who celebrate, to my Muslim brothers and sisters, it's basically their version of similar to Christmas, that type of holiday. So, shout out to you guys. Appreciate all of you and everybody around the world who watches these streams. All right, let's do screen capture. Hello, Mr. Producer. You know we're going to start with the big daddy, Bitcoin. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the bullish scenario for Bitcoin. This is going to be our take on Bitcoin. Okay, so 2024, we had this 8-month range of death where basically Bitcoin came up out of the bear market. We start pumping in 2023. And we pump all the way straight up into March of 24. Okay. So from the beginning of, or the end of February, beginning of March, we created this massive 8-month range on Bitcoin. Okay, so this is important to draw some alpha from. So we've talked about this in the past. When you build short, it's typically to go long. Okay, so when you build structure short, meaning that effectively a sideways price action that inevitably just kind of curls down lower, so more of a downward channel. More times than not, when you create a structure like this, you build short, it's to do what? To go long, okay? So hopeful, basically, not hopeful, excuse me, wrong word. The bullish scenario and what we're expecting to happen is we're doing something similar here on Bitcoin, okay? Up in here, though, in a larger range. So we get the sideways downward channel on Bitcoin for these 8 months. Then we finally break out, right? And this is a beautiful channel. You see how we break out, kind of retest, get this breakout. We retest the highs, okay, of this range, and then we're straight up to about 107,000, okay? So now we take a look at this new range that we created up here on Bitcoin. So we had pumped all the way up into this 107,000, and then we had created basically, before we broke down at the end of February, we had created this range up in here. So I'll even put it like this. So this was our range right here. Okay. And we can put it like this. So before it broke down, this was our range over here. Okay. So let's just pretend that that other price action hadn't happened yet. So we had made this range, and what happened was we were basically distributing, turns out, and then we broke down from this range. So when we broke down from this range, we created this larger channel, okay? So I bring this down here. Okay. And it basically could be looked at like this. Is another downward channel that we're starting to try to build, okay? Does that make sense? So the idea is that, yeah, we'll keep ranging here, but slowly but surely we'll kind of curl down as we had in this 8-month range before inevitably getting this breakout, okay? So here's what's not going to be fun about this. This is going to take longer than what you would like it to, okay? So since this is a larger range now, and this is going to be the top half of the range, not just the entire range itself, now we've only just recently made the bottom of the range, okay? Now, since this is going to be a macro channel, just like this 8-month range, it's going to be a couple months before Bitcoin and these altcoins start breaking out to new all-time highs again. It's going to be about, if I would have to guess, 2 months to about 3 months where we're looking back at all-time highs. And the reason being is, number one, this structure on Bitcoin has to have time to play out in this downward channel, but more so, equities are going to have the chance to play out that way. So I'll show you, I think, on the S&P, right? Because this is where the S&P is at right now. We actually came back down and retested our demand zone right after rejecting offer supply perfectly, and we had drawn this from before this move had played out, or before the breakdown, so it played out perfectly. Equities are going to take some time to come sideways and start to bottom out, so that's what's going to happen on Bitcoin. So this is going to take a bit, okay? Now here's the good news. Here's the great news for those of you who haven't been direct in building up your income and actually taking it seriously to make more and more money and get more and more powder to be able to put into the markets. You have an opportunity right now to put you in a situation where you can reaccumulate fiat to then go ahead and reaccumulate your altcoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is that you're looking to invest in, okay? And for those of you inside of our Discord, you guys understand what we're playing, okay? So my advice, what I would encourage you to do is not worry about the price of the assets right now, what's happening in the market. Understand that, okay, it looks like you're getting blessed with an opportunity at basically accumulating these altcoins, these major assets at the lows over a 2, maybe 3 month span, which is a long time for investors because that's going to give you the opportunity to accumulate a significant amount of that asset so that you can ride it back up to the highs. So if anything, I'd be looking at this like a blessing because I don't see a recession coming. I don't see a reason for us to enter a multi-year bear market. Your mindset should be, holy shit, I have a month, maybe two, of premier entries. I better start clipping in now and consistently clip in over the next month or two while we're bottoming out here. Okay. So that would be the time frame before we start, pushing back up to highs. But the low is either already in. For example, on Bitcoin, it looks like the low's already in. If not, maybe we get a double bottom. We come back down in here and start pushing back up. Okay. But that's what I would be looking for on Bitcoin to start playing out, is this downward channel again, just on a higher time, or not higher time frame, just on a larger scale at higher prices. Okay. So that's where we're at on Bitcoin structurally. On a lower time frame, there's nothing really to look at. I mean, we just want to try to maintain this, start curling back up, ideally. Okay. Let me just show you something quickly on equities, and then we're going to jump into some altcoins I want to look at and some others charts. Okay. So if we look at equities, the S&P, this is basically the driving factor for the crypto market. Okay. Unless equities are ripping, unless equity markets are doing well, Bitcoin's not going to play out too well. And then if Bitcoin's not pumping, of course, altcoins are not going to pump. So I had this drawn out for a while now. But on equities, we can just do it on the daily for now. Okay. We got our major demand zone here. All right. And then we had our supply overhead that was originally demand. And then we broke through it. Waterfall down to this demand zone. Came back up and retested the supply perfectly. Come back down. Retested the demand perfectly. Okay. So this is just to show you that market structure works. TA works. I had this drawn out from over here. Right. As demand. So you pull it over, and over time, it plays that way. Why is this supply? Because when we had come up into this region in the first place, okay, we basically rejected, came back down, chewed through it, kind of rejected again, and then as soon as we popped back through it, we pumped up, came back down, retested it, bounced up off of it, and then we keep bouncing up off of it. So this was demand. There was a lot of demand there. Well, when we finally broke down through the supply, well, it was demand, but we broke down through it. It became supply overhead. We waterfalled all the way back down to this major demand zone. Again, we had this drawn out from before it hit. It was, this was up here when we had this drawn out across. What does it do? Exactly that. Retests demand on the pullback. So it's a 10% pullback, large pullback. Come back up, retest supply, reject, come back down to the demand, and we bounce right up out of the demand. Okay. So this is still demand. This we got to hold. Okay. We got to hold this demand zone. If we don't hold this demand, then we're coming back down into here. Which certainly is not something we want to do. Okay. Certainly not something we want to do, because if we come back down into there, that's another 4%. And then total, that would be a 13% pullback. That's not looking good. We hit something like that, then I'm concerned. Okay. I'm concerned because we haven't had that large of a pullback over here previous. So like this pullback was about 10%. Okay. So that was a 10% pullback. We recovered from it, so that's fine. This one over here, back in July of 23, was also a 10% pullback. Okay, 11%. And then down here was bear market. Okay, bear market low in 22. So that we're not going to count. So this is in bull run. So we get 11% pullback, 10% pullback. Right now here we're at a 11% pullback. So we've done that before. Okay, we can survive that. We can still pump way higher out of those moves. But if we lose this demand and we come back down into this demand zone, that's a 13% pullback. That's now something we haven't seen before in this bull run for this cycle. Now I'm concerned. Okay, now I'm a little concerned. Okay, what's going on? Why do we get that aggressive a pullback? Can we still break out of this? Can we still reclaim market structure and start moving back up the upside again, or do we go to a recession? Okay. So that's what I would be looking for on the S&P. We break this demand, we lose this. If we come back down into 5250, 5300 on the S&P, yeah, I'm not happy with that. Okay. All right, so I got a question on the stream. Do you believe since this cycle there's so many coins that liquidity won't flow to majority of coins, causing price targets to be a lot lower than usual? Yeah, so I've heard about this before, that there's too many altcoins for some just to run the way that they can run. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I would also argue there's way more market participants this cycle and a lot more liquidity that's going to be able to go around. Okay, so the reason that you saw such a ridiculous blow off in 2021 is because all the money that got printed from COVID. Okay, so it was just a ridiculous liquidity event where everything was able to pump to huge highs. Now you think about it, 4 or 5 years later, as the global liquidity is going up, which I'm going to show you guys here in a second, even though there's more assets and more coins, there's not going to be a vampire effect to the major winners in the long run, because the major winners always attract all the liquidity back to them. Okay. So for example, Trump coin comes out, that definitely vampired liquidity from other assets, 100%. But that's just a anomaly type of drop of a coin. So it was just a fucked up situation. And while we were already downtrending. So can a Trump coin affect liquidity and siphon liquidity out of other assets? Yes, that can. On a larger scale, winners like Pepe, coins like XRP, coins similar to, what else are major winners this cycle? I mean, Solana is obviously doing well. So what are major altcoins? Dogecoin will be fine. Like these major assets, the winners, Pepe, the Boys Club, Brett, those sorts of things, they're always going to get liquidity to siphon back into them, because what will happen is as people take profits out of the smaller assets, they're going to rotate them back up the risk curve into those larger assets. And there's only so many altcoins that you can size into effectively. So the reason that having a bunch of different shitters out doesn't really kill how high some coins can pump is because the major money isn't going to be investing into those small assets anyways. The only people who are buying these $1 million market cap shit coins are people who have $200, $300, $400 and they can actually size into something like that, or got a couple grand and they can size into something like that. Major investors, major players, people who are going to move markets to these massive multi-$100 billion evaluations, multi-billion dollar evaluations, are going to be people who have to size into something like Pepe. The reason Pepe works, the reason Pepe will pump is because if somebody wants to put $1 million into Pepe, they can. They can't put $1 million into a $100 million market cap coin. It's not going to work. So that in and of itself doesn't allow these small assets to siphon liquidity out of those larger ones, because it's just the money's going to rotate to the big caps anyways, if that makes sense. Okay. So no, I don't believe that. For me, that's just a cope as to why alt season hasn't happened yet. But the reason alt season hasn't happened yet, we talked about in last stream, is because IWM. This is the only reason we haven't had alt season yet. It's because IWM didn't break all-time highs yet. As soon as IWM breaks this all-time high, we tested it here in November, December. Guess what? That's whenever altcoins topped out, as they always do. Came into our demand zone. As soon as IWM breaks the new all-time highs, we have alt season. You see those $100 billion market cap targets. It's going to happen still. That's what I'm saying. As long as you don't believe we're going into a recession, IWM will bounce from here, start trending up again. And once we break all-time highs, Ethereum will be at new all-time highs. XRP will be at new all-time highs. Solana, and then all of our altcoins, Pepe, Andy, Wolf, Brett, everything at new all-time highs. We just need IWM to new all-time highs. Last time IWM broke to new all-time highs was in November of 2020. Well, what happened in Q1, Q2 of 2021? You have your fucking ridiculous bull market. Whenever Dogecoin went to $80 billion market cap from like $1 or $2 billion in the course of a couple months. Think about that. Doge went from a $1 or $2 billion market cap in a couple months to about 90. It did like an 80 to a 90x in a couple months. So trust me, liquidity will be there when shit starts getting insane. So anyways, what were we talking about? Bitcoin. You asked me about alts. Okay. Anyways, this is where I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Oh, we were looking at S&P. So S&P, basically, we're just looking for this demand to hold and start going sideways before actually moving back up. This will take us a month or two, okay? So be patient. But again, that's a good news for you if you're trying to accumulate. Okay, Ethereum on a higher time frame. This is on the 4-day. So let me turn off the SMA. So Ethereum, we had this range from the bear market. So we break out of the bear market. We come into this new bull market range, which was in November 2023. Beginning of 2024, if you guys remember, in March, we topped out here at this famous $4,100 level. We start ranging. We come back down on the August 5th nuke capitulation, sideways, boom, come back up to 4,100, reject again, okay? So we reject and we come all the way back down to this $22,000 mark, and we lost our range low. As soon as we lost our range low, that's whenever you saw this huge nuke all the way down to 1,700. And we called that beautifully from this demand. Look, tagged our demand perfectly. Have not moved this for a month or two. So this makes sense. So we came back up with a technical bounce, and I'm not surprised. But look, where we fucking bounced. Look how perfect this is. We come right back up. We do a bearish underside retest of this macro bull market range. And we reject, and we come all the way back down and do what? Come fill this wick, almost tag this demand again. Okay, so that's normal. We reject, bearish underside retest, boom, big nuke down to here. So this is where people get super scared. Sentiment is just absolutely outrageously bad right now, which is good for people who are trying to buy because that means low prices. So you had this perfect bearish underside retest, and then you get this what? Double bottom. So look, double bottom. So now we'd probably do something like this. Maybe do we do 3 drives in the low, do a triple bottom? Could be, maybe. Or do something like this. Reclaim it, right? Reclaim this and get back up into the range, and then we start moving back higher, okay? But I would be looking at that double bottom as okay, this is a potential bottoming pattern, because we know this to be a bottoming pattern, right? So look at this one. Capitulation, almost a double bottom basically, came back down to fill the wick, and then you slowly move back up higher, right? You get that double bottom. It's typically how you see these play out. So look, you see a similar structure here. First bottom. That's the double bottom. This one came back nicer for a better retest, okay? And then you start curling back up, reclaim this, right? A little reclaim of the range, and we move back up. Now, again, like I said, this is going to play out over the course of a month or two, more than likely, than it will in a couple of weeks, okay? Especially because we have the tariffs coming out on April 2nd, so markets are going to be positioning for that, or anticipating that to be fuck up the markets a little bit. So we'll get through the tariffs, then we'll have to get through the month of April just to see how the tariffs play out, what it does to the economy, does the data come differently. Next FOMC meeting will then be on where's FOMC meeting dates? Next FOMC meeting will be on May 7th. Yep, that's what I thought. So from March 19th was our current meeting, okay? And then when we get to May 8th, that will be the next FOMC meeting. So I would expect by the end of April, we have clarity from tariffs. We understand what's happening with these tariffs on April 2nd. Okay, we get the clarity. Market likes clarity. Then the next FOMC meeting is right after the end of April, beginning of May. That's when I expect things to start heating up again. Because it makes sense. It's confluent. Give us the whole month of April to see how tariffs play out. We'll see what ETH and these altcoins do. So you can see that these are all FOMC meeting dates. This is a really great what's it called? Indicator, because it shows you how the market has performed over these FOMC meeting dates. So if we look at it on the weekly, we've been down for 2 meetings in a row. And typically, after 2 red meetings, only one time we've had 3, we get greens. Okay, 2 reds. So chances are we're going to get a green here. Okay, which makes sense because in May, we would expect a rate cut. So if we cut in May, that means April, we're going to anticipate that cut. We're going to start moving up. Okay, so it is patience. Patience is going to be another month. I'm just giving it to you the real, right? I'm going to give you guys the truth, not fucking hopium, cope, etc. Bullshit people try to sell you. No, I'm just telling you what it is. Likely you're going to get sideways in this shit price action for at least another month. And then in May, or anticipating going into May, you should start to see things move back up. But again, what does that mean for you? It means you can accumulate your assets, which you're supposed to at the lows. Everybody wishes they could have had a better entry once everything's at all-time highs. And then you get the better entry, and then everybody says, oh, I'm not buying that shit. No, this is whenever you want to buy, whenever it seems like, damn, this sucks. Prices are bad. I don't want to buy. Guess what? That's when you buy. Okay, so bearish underside retest of this macro range. I would expect us to reaccumulate under here for a little bit, maybe a couple weeks. Just down in here, some shit price action before we inevitably reclaim this macro range. Let me do like 350 before we inevitably reclaim this macro range, and then we start moving back up. I expect us to be back up positive by this next FOMC meeting, which would be May 8th. So that means any buys right like today down in here should be in the green by May. That's my expectation, and that's why I'm accumulating right now. Okay, so there you go. So that's our FOMC meeting dates. Let's get that out of here. Last thing I wanted to show with the SMA, the ribbon. So we got our MA ribbon with the 20, 50, 100, and 200 SMA. We're well below all of them, oversold territory. Well below all of them on the 4-day, weekly, well below all of them. So again, long story short, you're in a good buy territory. Okay, these buys, they will age well. When was the last time that we were below every single ribbon on the weekly? Literally the Pico bear market low. The next time, almost Pico bear market lows. The next time, right before the major rip, straight up only, straight up to $4,000, $4,100. The last time that we were ever under every single band on the MA ribbon, the only other time, the last time that we were under every single band was in September of 23. And then what happened right after that? Fucking pumped, ripped face. We've been above these bands the entire time for almost 2 years now. This is the first time, again, that you've had an opportunity to buy below every single ribbon. Well, how did this buy mature? How did this buy mature? How do these buys mature? Well, they matured pretty fucking well. So how do you think these buys are going to mature? I'm not going to give you the answer. But how do you think these buys are going to mature under every single ribbon? Well below them too on the weekly. This is even further below them than this even was. Okay, so how do you think this is going to mature? Get those drawings out the way. Bomba clot. All right, gentlemen, so that's ETH. Okay, so we're starting to try to make a bottoming structure on the lower time frame. Okay, so we got the double bottom, so we just want to see some more sideways price action. Okay. All right, so we're going sideways on ETH. What was the other one I wanted to look at? Others. Okay. So let's look at the others chart. Okay. So I had put this in the Discord this morning. Put some analysis in there for this. Okay. So here's the others chart. Others is all the crypto assets excluding the top 10 by market cap. Okay. So crypto total market cap excluding the top 10. So this is altcoin index. Your altcoin index. All right. So bull market 2021, bull market 2021. So when you get your two massive tops is when you get your alt seasons, alt season. Okay. Go into a massive bear market reaccumulation range. Okay. Beautiful sideways reaccumulation. Don't fucking. Okay. There's your bear market sideways reaccumulation. Okay. You break out January of 24, March of 24. That was what? Our first alt season this cycle. Not a true alt season, but the first pump of it, right? So this is whenever you got Pepe to do a 10x in 2024. Okay. Come back down. Create a bottom here in August when you get that August 5th capitulation right here, right? That's when everything nuked from Japan. We set a bottom, we reaccumulate a little bit, and then we pump straight up into December of 24, okay? So that was our local altcoin top. So when you see others, this market cap total, what is this chart now giving us in terms of signal? Okay. Well, if we look at the structure that we're building right now, we're basically coming back down into this demand zone that we created here from our previous bottom. Okay. So we bounced here, came back down. This is the little capitulation here on August 5th, but you create this bottom. So you got double bottom, right? 1, 2, right? 1, 2, double bottom, right? Before the eventual pump. So this is exactly where we could be right now on others. So here's your first bottom, right? First bottom. Then you get your double bottom. So this one would come back down into here, somewhere in here, do your double bottom. And then what would you do here? Sideways until we break out of this trend line, retest, pump. So that's what I'm expecting to play out on others. So what does that mean for us? Again, on altcoins, you're effectively at or very close to your bottom, okay? So I'm going to expect another bleed on altcoins. Yes, I know it could go lower. Correct. Exactly. This is why I'm slowly DCing into my positions right now. I'd expect one last puke into here like this before we break out, which makes sense because look into April before we start moving back up into May, like I was saying. Or you could come back up first from here, come back down later, and then break out. Okay? But that's what I'm seeing on this others chart. It's very clear that every single time we interact with this trend line, right? We come back up, we test this normie trend line, we nuke. Normie trend line, nuke. Normie trend line, nuke. Sideways, normie trend line, boom, coming back down, we're going to nuke. Okay? But it's a similar structure that we had painted over here. Like I said, double bottom, boom, boom, double bottom, and then we want to work out of here. But this is our major demand zone, okay? So again, any altcoins that you're accumulating here or in here, these are going to be fantastic buys because then you benefit from this move. Here's what's crazy. We still haven't had our alt season because we still haven't broken to new all-time highs. So you guys are getting the opportunity to reaccumulate these coins before we even did this and had our alt season. Others, total market cap has still not broken its all-time high from November of 21, last bull run. So you're getting a premier entry at this major demand zone. Look at this, see? Lots of interaction with this level. So we come up in here. We basically base out here before a pump, come back down into it, base out here before a pump, come back down. Guess what we're going to do? Base out here before a pump. So this was the test pump. This is a little bit of a larger one. So this one up in here, breakout to price discovery. That is what I'm playing. I'm playing this move on others into price discovery. Because when others breaks out into price discovery, Pepe's in price discovery, Brett's in price discovery, Andy, Wolf in price discovery, XRP, all the altcoins. Oh, XRP's in the top 10, but you get my point. I'm playing this move, others total market cap, okay? And I can even give you some targets on this. And this was the date when we topped out. It was in December 2nd, okay? Would have been tough to call that top because we didn't really, oh no, I guess we did. We did have a lot of interaction with this price level. Yeah. I mean, when we got up into here, that would have been your time to take profits. That would have been your time to take profits. Now is not the time to be taking profits or taking losses. You're at the bottom. You don't do that. You sell up here. Okay. So I'll give you a little target on this then. So if I look at this, I say, okay, let me hide these. If I look at this, I'm going to say, all right, well, how do we get targets on this? When do I take profit on my altcoins? When do I think others' dominance is topped? Well, you have this massive beautiful 4-year range. Okay. So we could probably call it like this. Call it like that. Oh, that's pretty. We do this. I'm trying to see which one I like better. I would say, because it changes the mid-range. Okay, we'll call it that. So here's your 4-year reaccumulation range on crypto total market cap. Okay. So this is beautiful because it's going to give us a target in terms of where we want to shoot for this alt season. So here's our logarithmic fibs. So we come in from the previous cycle, 2020, right? We pump, we have our first alt season into May of 21. That's whenever all those SHIB, Doge, all that shit went fucking berserk. You top out, bang, you hit this one at the top of our range at $425 billion market cap for others. Come back down, create this mid-range. We test with this mid-range. We pump back up into November of 21 and December of 21, right? You hang up right up here. Look how we get rejected again right at this one. So we couldn't break out further than that. So we come back down. We go into a bear market reaccumulation. We come back up. Now this is this current cycle. We pump out of the bear market. We reclaim this mid-range. We come up. We front run the top of the range. Come back down. Reaccumulate. Come back up to this last pump in December. And guess where we got stuffed at? The top of the range. Not a fucking surpriser. That's how ranges works. Well, the good news about this being that it plays like a nice range is now we can say, all right, well, sentiment is fucking awful. People are losing their minds. Altcoins are getting shredded, and we're not even as low as we were over here. On August 5th, when we had this capitulation, we were down here. Sentiment, I would argue, is worse here, and we're up higher. Think about that. The sentiment is worse over here in March than it is here, and we're up higher. Why? It's just because time. Time is what creates the poor sentiment. It's taking too long for people. People don't like to wait. People wanted to get rich yesterday. People are expecting their crypto to be able to retire them after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years because they got like $20,000 in a fucking meme coin. That's why the sentiment's so bad, even though we're higher on others than when we were on August 5th. August 5th sentiment was bad. This sentiment is worse. This sentiment is worse, and we're up higher. Think about that. Anyways, so this is a range. So how's it going to play? Well, eventually we're going to get this range breakout. We'll get this range breakout when our alt season indicator goes off, which is IWM. Oops. Okay, look at this. Basically the same chart. Isn't that funny how that works? Okay, basically the same chart. So we have this range up top on others. We got IWM down below. As soon as IWM goes into price discovery, where are we going to expect others' total market cap to go during alt season? We're going to at least hit this fib right here. So up at $1.3 trillion market cap. Should be right here. All right. How much of a move is that from here? Boom. A fucking 6x? Are you kidding me? A 6x on others? You fucking kidding me? Shit will go ballistic on a 6x. This move from August 5th low up to a December high was a 3x. So it's going to be double the move that we even had from August 5th up to December. Did you like how your coins pumped then? We'll just wait till we get this fucking 6x up here to the 1.618, right? Fucking ballistic. Let's see what it was in comparison to the last cycle. Oops, what the fuck? So here, let's see how big this move was. From the low in March of 2020. Okay, yeah, that was fucking heater. What is that, a fucking 60 fucking 3x? 70, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, you're not going to get that kind of move. That's not happening. But you get the point. Well, I suppose it would be from bear market low, actually. So that was bear market low. So if to do a comparable move, I would have to take it from here. Okay. Hold on, gentlemen. Hold on. Hold on. No, we do have a fucking move in store here. 1,700%. That's a fucking move there, gentlemen. From the bear market low. So this low to this high. 7,200. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more. But from this low only to get up to the 1.618, instead of doing 7,200%, you get a 1,700% move. Yeah, you're getting that. You're getting that. Do we go higher? What would it be up to 2.618? No, you're not getting that. So no, you'll get this one right here. You get the 1.618. Okay. We could also do. I could also do one of these. Let's throw on some regular fibs on here too. Get range high, range low. See where the confluence is at. So you got confluence here. Yes. See? Look at the confluence here. Look at this confluence. So just the log fib that we were just talking about, that 1.618 on the log is right here at 1.3 trillion. The 3.618 on the linear log is at 1.36 trillion. That's the confluence. That's your target. Huge confluence. So guess what? That's what I was saying. Price comes up into here. Okay. There you have it, gentlemen. So that's what I'm looking to play. I'm looking to play the breakout on others. I'm looking to play the breakout on IWM. I'm looking to play the breakout on Ethereum and Ethereum beta, which is Pepe, Brett, Andy, Wolf. That's what I'm playing here. Okay? Outside that, we're done. So do a little Mr. Producer. Cool? Gentlemen, if you have not already, okay, if you have not joined the network in the University for the Ultimate Professional and have started the building process with myself, Bobby, Logan, the gentleman that we do business with inside the private Discord, inside the private network, I encourage you to do so. Today is the very last day to be able to join and use the discount code in the description, which is TC444 for $40 off of your first month inside the network. Okay? tonight at 11:59 p.m., that discount code will no longer work. So congratulations to all of you who got to use it for your first month. After today, you will have to pay the full price. And I'm sure you don't want to have to pay more for something that you don't have to, right? I'm sure you wouldn't want to do that. So join the network today. Today's the last day. Okay, the website. I'll show you the website. Link is in the description for the website, but I'll actually show it to you real quick. Little Mr. Producer here. Hold on. I'll show it to you, fucking filthy animals. Hold on. Okay, Mr. Producer it here real quick. All right. So the taylorscode.com. All right, professional, you get access to the network and the private Discord. If you want to actually see what I'm doing in my portfolio, what assets I'm accumulating, when I'm buying, when I'm selling, how to take profit, how to not capitulate at the lows. You want me to look at your personal portfolio and give you direction and guidance on your own portfolio, show you how to make money in the markets, whether it's shorting, longing, etc. That's in the gentleman's program, so that you get access to not only the private Discord and the network and to everybody inside, but you also get access to the private crypto plays section inside of the Discord. That's where you're going to get that personal one-on-one analysis for myself and when I'm buying, when I'm selling. So I'll get you making money in there. And then if you want access to the entire network, all the professors, which is the e-commerce campus, so Bobby will help you set up an e-com store. An e-com store, and start making money doing e-commerce, or audit your current store and make sure you're more profitable. And you get access to the fitness campus where you're going to get professional diet, nutrition, exercise, cardio, weights, all that type of stuff to increase, get your fucking six-pack abs, because you got to be competent in all realms. You want access to that section of the Discord, then you get that with the Hero program, okay? Like I said, TC444. I'll show you real quick. So you want to join for the private crypto plays. All right, we'll get you right here. So you click on the gentleman. You add promo code. You're going to do TC444. You're going to apply it. I'll get some water going here, huh? It's a little sparkling. Usually the first time, for whatever reason, I know it went through. Come on. For whatever reason, the first time it always gives an error, but it works. There you go. There's your $40 off. Instead of giving that to McDonald's and giving yourself fucking disease, use it towards making money this cycle. That will be the best investment you make this entire cycle, because I can assure you, you're going to make way more money on a long enough time frame, on a multi-year time frame, by being a part of a network of winners and professionals, as opposed to spending that money on some bullshit, right? You might as well put it into something that's going to help you make money. All right, gentlemen. We'll see you inside the network. Double-digit live viewers across all platforms. Can't wait till we hit triple digits soon. But, need a little Mr. Producer. Let's go make some money, gentlemen. All right, let's win the week. It's Monday. Get to fucking work. Make sure by the time next Sunday rolls around, you can look back on your week and say, yep, I won this week. Now let me do it again. And if you didn't win the week, reflect on Sunday. Decide what you're going to do differently, how you're going to make adjustments for the following week to make sure that you win that week. Consistency. Show up every single week. You'll never miss a bottom. You'll never miss a top. Show up every single week. You'll never miss a lucky day. Just show up every fucking day. Every day on a long enough time frame, you will win. A lot of financial markets, a lot of business, a lot of success, go to the gym. All of it is contingent upon whether or not you're willing to outlast the other participants. You can't lose if you don't quit. If you outlast the market participants, you make money. If you outlast your competitors in business, you make the money. Outlast the competition. They're going to quit. They'll quit eventually. Just make sure that you don't, because they'll be back, but they're going to have to start from zero. You're already going to be in the game. All right. Peace.